Okay, I'd like to call the City of Apache Junction Council meeting for December 2nd, 2025 to order and ask everyone to put their cell phones on silence. The invocation be led by Councilmember Heck and the pledge by Councilman Cross.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the privilege and freedom we have of being able to gather together this evening to discuss city business. We ask that you give the staff and council wisdom and clarity in their decision-making. Keep us mindful that we serve the residents of this city. We ask you to keep watch over our men and women who serve in our military the world over. Keep them safe in these troubling and turbulent times. We ask also for your blessing on our first responders, including our police and fire departments, our EMS personnel, along with our park rangers. Please keep the brave men and women safe in their duties to protect and care for the residents of this city. And thank you for the honor and privilege we have to serve the residents of this great city. These things we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Wilson,
Here.
Vice Mayor Schroeder,
Present.
Councilmember Cross,
Here.
Councilmember Heck,
Here.
Councilmember Johnson,
Here.
Councilmember Nesser,
Present.
Councilmember Suller.
Here.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. Consent agenda. As a reminder, all items under consent agenda will be approved with one motion. If a council member wishes to remove an item for future discussion, the request must be made prior to approving the consent agenda and will be moved to new business. Do I have a motion for consent agenda?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that the consent agenda be accepted as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember Heck,
Yes.
Councilmember Nesser,
Yes.
Councilmember Cross,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Suller,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We had no presentation or proclamations tonight. Wow. Okay. Regional intergovernment updates from the council. Anyone over here? No? Anyone over here?
Not today.
Well, I've got one in the aspect on this past week. I was in Salt Lake City, Utah, for the National League of Cities. It was the first one that we as a city have sent anyone to. And it was very, I'm going to say, very crowded, first off. There was over 3,500 people in attendance for the National League of Cities. And they had a lot going on. And they had really the vendor displays that they had close to 900 vendors that were there as well. It was very, I'm going to say, very busy, very much information being passed out. What was interesting to me also is some of the, I'm going to say, some of the rules in the aspects that some of the other cities in other states have to face. Thank goodness we don't have to face those same ones also, too. But on the same token, they were finding out some of the things that we have to face, and they were glad that they were in their state and not here in Arizona facing the same things that we face. So we had, it was an opportunity to share and discuss and find out a little more what's going on throughout the nation from city side in the aspect on it, and talking to city council members, to mayors and city managements from all over the nation. And, it was, I would say, very interesting, that aspect on it. And came back with some things that I passed on to Bryant, and we'll, check some of those things out and see if we can implement some of those, say, not necessarily decisions, but ideas into our community in the aspect to help us as we work towards the future. So again, I want to say thank you to the city for sending me there, and we will work on another. Okay,
I have a question. Is this only in Utah kind of thing?
no,
This bounces around?
it bounces
It bounces
around. The
around.
next one's going to be in Nashville. So the,
Time to get-
the discussion was that they're going to have some, say, people from Nashville be actually doing the entertainment in the aspects on it. So that one is different. But they've had them in Washington DC, they've had them in other cities throughout the nation. And this one was in Seattle, and it was cool outside, but nothing real bad. But you can see snow in the mountains in the distance.
Nice.
City managers report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Bryant Powell, City Manager. I just wanted to share a couple items. This wrap is now complete. This is the last one of this first group. You may recall I went through a contest down at Apache Junction High School. One of the students there came up with this, and then now it's in, and it's at the northeast corner of Southern and Ironwood. Just wanted to let everybody know that's up. And then connected to RAPS, we've updated through the maintenance project, the Apache Junction Public Library mobile van, and we have a new wrap there, and it looks great. And we'll keep it going and keep the great crew that does the work there out and about. And that concludes our couple items here that I want to turn over now to Mr. Rob Whistler to go over current events. I can do it. Let me just do these real quick, guys. Apache Junction holiday event, our signature event for the holiday is coming up Saturday, December 6th. And I'm super excited to share that and hope everybody can come. The tree lighting starts at right at the focal point, right at 6:30. And it's one of our favorite events of the year. Winter Wonderland at Flatiron there, 3 to 6:30. And hope everybody will come and kick off the holiday season. And then we have one more, which is the Parks and Recreation. It's time to do our, get rid of the area here and on Silly Mountain with all non-native weeds. And so our group works with lots of different nonprofits and groups in the community to take care of that, and it's that season. So you'll start seeing a lot more reach outs to the community to help us clear it out. And that's our current events. I'll now turn it over to Rob on our update on regional roads of significance for the city of Apache Junction. Our hope is that you all will get a chance to get a refresher on these major transportation projects.
Brian, if I can just add one thing, don't forget after that, the holiday event, there's the light parade too at 7.
Correct.
So don't want to miss that either.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Rob Whistler, Management Analyst for the City Manager's Office. I'm here tonight to provide Council an update on the major regional transportation projects that are currently in progress that'll have a significant impact on the city in the future. Tonight, we're going to look at 4 different freeways. SR 24, which is divided up into 2 segments. The SR 505, which was at one point called the North-South Corridor, Central Arizona Parkway, and the US 60, which also has a couple of different segments. And just to quick go over a map here, I think everyone is familiar with the US 60. Next is the SR 505 goes from Mountain View Road in US 60 and travels all the way down to the I-10 at Eloy. The SR 24 goes from the Loop 202 and in its ultimate build-out will connect to the US 60. And finally, the Central Arizona Parkway will go from the SR 24 at its north end all the way down to Arizona Farms Road in Santan Valley, paralleling the CAP Canal. We're going to look at all of these and start off with the SR 24. So SR 24, the purpose of it is to provide an alternative to the US 60 east-westbound, and particularly to connect Santan Valley traffic with the loop system. Currently, there's 2 different segments that are being worked on. From the 202 to Ironwood is being led by MAG, and from Ironwood to the US 60 is being led by Pinal County. Highlighting what's going on with the 24, from 202 to Ironwood, right now work is being done to convert that into a full freeway with 3 lanes in each direction, as well as construction of new bridges that will allow drivers to go through without stopping at stoplights. On the eastern side, so the SR-24 extension, once again, we'll go due east-west from Ironwood, connecting with the Central Arizona Parkway and the 505 before terminating at the 60. So in terms of funding, the SR-24 actually has a funding in place through voters passing back in last November in Maricopa County, Prop 479. To the eastward from Ironwood, there is no funding source at the present. There are several potentials ranging from the PRTA sales tax. If council recalls, back in 2017, Pinal County passed the PRTA, the Regional Transportation Plan for Pinal County, was struck down by the courts as unconstitutional. There was another effort in 2022 that was rejected by the voters. Right now, it's currently inactive, but it could pass in the future. Also potential for the state legislature to assist, or federal government grants, or Pinal County and cities and towns could work together and develop other sources. For the timeline for this, we expect construction to begin on the 202 to Ironwood portion actually in summer of this year, with completion date in winter of 2028. For 24 from Ironwood to US 60, so 5 to 7 years is a hypothetical if funding were to exist. If funding were available once the design was complete for construction, 5 to 7 years would be reasonable, but at the present, there is no funding, and that would obviously push out the time of completion for this. Moving to the 505, again, it's going to connect I-10 all the way to the valley to provide a reliever to the I-10. And it's broken down into 2 segments, the north segment from 60 to Arizona Farms, and then the south segment from Arizona Farms to the I-10 at Eloy. The one that we're going to focus on tonight is the north segment. Right now, ADOT has developed 3 different alternatives for the final routing, so the final 500-foot corridor for the 505, and that should be determined probably in the next year. Just like the 24 east of Ironwood, there's no dedicated funding source at the moment. Though hypothetically, if funding were to exist, it could be 5 to 7 years if that funding were available for construction to completion for that north segment, and 7 to 9 for the southern segment. Central Arizona Parkway, sort of a different purpose. It's really designed to relieve congestion in Queen Creek, Santan Valley, and that's being led by Pinal County. It sort of has the same issues as 505 and 24 in that there are no dedicated funding sources at the present. And moving on to the US 60, as part of the transportation plan that passed in November of last year, part of that plan established that from Meridian to Ellsworth, there will be an additional general purpose lane, an HOV lane from Meridian to Ellsworth. Now, moving on to the other project, from Ironwood to Superstition Mountain, or potentially Kings Ranch Road, the final sort of size of this corridor study hasn't been determined. This is at the very beginning of a study process. Essentially, it will be to determine what the future conditions of this freeway are going to be. And both of these studies are led by MAG. Here's just a map of that corridor study for the Ironwood to Superstition Mountain. In terms of funding sources, once again, Meridian to Ellsworth has a dedicated funding source in Prop 479. For Ironwood to Superstition Mountain, we have the initial study will be funded by the federal government through MAG. But after that, there is no funding at the present available for those. In terms of a timeline, we know that construction is set to begin in about 2030 for the Meridian to Ellsworth portion, and completion date in 2031 or 2032. And so if funding were available for Ironwood to Superstition Mountain, 4 to 6 years seems possible, but again, that funding source is not here at the present. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? No. No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mario.
All right, thank you. Okay, presentation, discussion, and public hearing, consideration of an application for a Series 6 bar liquor license for the Hitching Post Saloon. Evie.
Thank you, Your Honor. This evening, we have before us the approval of recommendation to the Arizona Liquor License and Control for a new Series 6 bar liquor license for the Hitching Post Saloon. This was received at the Liquor Department on October 24th, and they forwarded it to the clerk's office on the 27th. We did a public hearing posting at the establishment on October 30th, which meets the state law requirements for the 20-day posting notice. Correspondence was received from the Apache Junction Police Department, Development Services, and the Superstition Fire. All entities found compliance with the inspection requirements. Their responses were attached in the Legistar. So tonight, your decision is to make the recommendation for approval or denial, again, to the Arizona State Liquor License and Control. I'm happy to answer any questions. The applicant is here if you have any questions for him.
Any questions? Nope. Okay. I will now open the public hearing. There's a 5-minute time limit with 1-minute warning that you will hear. Please state your name and address for the record. Anyone like to speak on this? And I see no movement. Okay. I will now close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Mayor,
Yes.
I move that the applicant for a new Series 6 bar liquor license for the Hitching Post Saloon located at 2341 North Apache Trail, Apache Junction, Arizona, be recommended to the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Nesser?
Yes.
Councilmember Cross?
Yes.
Councilmember Heck?
Yes.
Councilmember Soller?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Presentation, discussion, and public hearing, consideration, and approval, resolution number 25-24. Nick.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm Nick Leftwich, Principal Planner for the Development Services Department of the City of Apache Junction, and I will be presenting the case information for the Roars 88 North project, P2538 CUP. So the applicant, the Roars Company, is requesting a conditional use permit in order to approve the construction of a 300-unit, 3-story multifamily residential development that will utilize the low-income housing tax credit, the LIHTC funding mechanism. And it is proposed here at the southeast corner of Idaho and the Scenic Street alignment. So that intersection at the top left of this image is the Apache Trail and Idaho intersection. So it's pretty close to where we are right now. This property is located in the B3 City Center zoning district, which is a more of a mixed-use zoning district. It requires a conditional use permit because it is within the downtown, and of the variety of mixed uses in the downtown, such as multifamily, residential, commercial, this kind of apartment development would require a conditional use permit and the approval of the city council. The property is to the north, west, and south, surrounded by other B3 properties, but to the east we see RM2, high-density, multiple-family residential, as well as the RSGR, low-density, general rural, single-family residential properties. This property is located within the general plan's downtown mixed-use area, so as a future land designation, we find that this proposal is compliant with the downtown goals for the downtown core, encouraging the mixed use and the high-density residential to support the businesses in the downtown. Shown here is the site plan of the property. It is, again, about 300 units, and they are compliant with all of our zoning regulations. They don't need any deviations from setbacks. They're compliant with landscaping. They're compliant with parking. They're providing, I believe, about 700 parking spaces. 670, I apologize, just for clarification. Access to the site is proposed, the primary access is proposed to be at the south end of the property as part of a shared entrance fronting Idaho with a future development to the south that they're trying to coordinate, with a right-in, right-out entrance and exit along Idaho as well at the northwest corner of the property. The applicant is providing on-site amenities. There's clubhouse and pool, a dog park, open space. They are providing covered parking for all of the units, as well as tot lots and everything that we see here. One major notable item that we've worked with the applicant to ensure its provision is a multi-use trail on the exterior of the site to the north and to the west of the property. So this trail would increase the downtown connectivity. We've tried to align it with the other trail projects that we have worked to provide in the downtown mixed-use core. And it is located on the exterior of the site, as shown here on this wall plan. So it would be available for public usage. Staff and council have worked with the applicant in order to ensure higher quality elevations, trying to be in harmony with the downtown aesthetic goals that we have from the general plan. So going for more of a southwestern style. And so with the different material and elevation types, the applicant has tried to achieve this kind of aesthetic and these goals for our downtown. This shown here is the clubhouse, also designed with that style in mind. And the applicant has complied with all the necessary public notification requirements. They have held a neighborhood meeting, signs have been posted, letters have been sent out. And when they held the neighborhood meeting, it was noted that there was some concern regarding the low-income housing component of the property, as well as just some general stormwater concerns. And so we have made note of that. And the applicant is here tonight with their presentation to talk in more detail about these components to it. And there have been questions about the multi-use trail, which, as was noted, is available for public use. So a little over a month ago, on October 28th, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 4-1 to recommend the approval of P2538 CUP, subject to the conditions of approval found in the staff report. And following the work session that was held 2 weeks ago, there is an additional possible condition of approval. It is not part of the resolution as it stands, because the resolution is just the conditions of approval that the Planning and Zoning Commission had voted on recommending. But regarding the on-site apartment management, if you plan to include that in the motion, we have proposed optional text for that right here as well. So all these things considered, staff recommends the approval of P2538 CUP, subject to the conditional use permit findings of fact and the conditions of approval found in the staff report. And I am available for questions, but we do have the applicant here. They have a presentation ready and prepared, and to be able to go into more detail and address the concerns that were raised at the work session 2 weeks ago.
Anyone have any over here?
Can you pull up that CUP part, with the add-on?
This part right here?
Yes. That's what I'm talking about from the last meeting. So thank you for putting it on there.
Okay. You got any other questions or anything?
No, we just got to do this add-on whenever we're
Okay.
ready.
All right. like to hear from the owner, or the developer, I should say.
Thank you, Nick. Good evening, Council. My name is Jason Sanks. I'm a land use planner with iPlan Consulting, 3317 South Higley Road in Gilbert. And thank you for your time tonight. I would like to go ahead and piggyback off of staff's presentation. And of course, I watched the study session and understand your comments and concerns about the manager's unit, LIHTC, and other items related to the project. So we did prepare a PowerPoint, and I'll try to breeze through this and cover some of those points that you raised at the study session and then other details of the project. All right, so I'm with iPlan, but Roars Companies is both the prospective developer of this site as well as the manager of the site. They're a full-service real estate firm. They do the development, the construction, and the ongoing property management. They have long-term ownership. I think that's important to keep in mind. They own and manage their projects for at least 15 years. In fact, that's a requirement of the program as we get into the LIHTC discussion. They're required to have stay on site for 15 years or beyond as part of the program. Their projects are all built to a higher level of quality. There are certain specific standards they must meet that aren't required of other types of projects, so they actually are built to a higher level of quality, and they're also maintained at a higher level of quality. Because they are set to own and manage these projects, they have a vested interest in maintaining them quite well. There are 10 current projects in Arizona in various cities: Phoenix, Goodyear, Buckeye, Maricopa, Casa Grande, Flagstaff. In fact, they have a hearing tomorrow night in Flagstaff, or I believe a grand opening in Flagstaff for one of their projects. All of these have been LIHTC projects. So I'm not certain if that came up in the discussion a few weeks ago at the study session, but Apache Junction would just be one of 10 different municipalities that have these projects in their jurisdictions. So a little bit about our apartment home renters, and I think trying to get in front of perhaps some concerns about what the prospective residents might be, who they are, where they come from. They're broadly identified as kind of the hometown heroes. They are your teachers, they're firefighters, usually junior police officers, essential workers, and even seniors. You might think of the people that you would see in your Fry's Marketplace that's just down the street from the site. The MVD is also over there. Any number of those employees would be qualified. Central Arizona College, even the Apache Junction city offices, the vast majority of the employees in here would qualify. Many area restaurants, there's probably, I think, a dozen restaurants within a mile of the project. So people that are primarily doing quite well at the restaurant, maybe a manager or somebody that works full-time as a server, they may qualify. Those are the types of residents you would see here. And one thing to think about too when you're bringing residents downtown is the employers downtown in Apache Junction really also need to have attainable housing for their residents or for their employees so that people don't have to drive from far away to come work in downtown AJ. And the last thing to think about is since our residents are generally well qualified in terms of income, credit, and clean criminal backgrounds, these apartments are oftentimes a stepping stone to home ownership. They're usually able to start saving for their house while they're in one of our communities. I'd like to get into some initial details about what LIHTC is. That means low-income housing tax credit. We can thank the federal government for such an appealing title for this program. It certainly sounds ominous to say it out loud, but really what it is, it's a program targeted for specific income brackets. So there's a minimum and a maximum. So they target right in the center of that. And it's surprising to me even to understand what type of jobs that actually means. So the minimum and maximum incomes are spread between 30 and 70,000. So the entire project won't have households making less than that, and they won't have households making more than that. This is workforce housing, people that are gainfully employed, usually full-time. The program also requires that you can't be completely house poor. So, you know, unfortunately, in today's day and age, with rental rates going up so much, more and more, larger and larger proportions of people's income are often going to rent. With this program, their income to rent ratio has to be around 30% is the most. So if you're making $50,000 a year, only 30% of your income can go to rent, leaving you the other 70% for other things like food and other expenses. So you oftentimes will have some more disposable income than somebody that's really, really house poor. The requirements for getting into a unit, if you're interested in living in one of the ROARS projects, is that you have to meet the same requirements as any other, if you call it market rate apartment project, like the ones that are around here. You have to prove your employment, you have to pass the credit check, and you have to pass the criminal background check. So there's no getting out of one of those items. You have to pass all three. And so they have pretty specific standards for you to live here. You have to pass those. The interesting thing is because of this program, LIHTC, the state does auditing, and they have to make sure that your residents stay in compliance with those requirements. So unfortunately for those that may fall out of qualification, then they won't be able to stay, perhaps, if they have a felony. So LIHTC helps keep the folks that work hard or gainfully employed that they can stay in your community. So we talked a bit about management at the study session. There was some questions about management and concept of a manager unit. So ROARS has a larger staff than you might expect managing these sites because of the number of units. These are large projects. It's not kind of a small mom and pop little tiny apartment complex. I've lived in one of those when I was at ASU. I lived in a project that had 16 units. And because the project was so small, we had a manager live-in unit because we didn't need a full-scale leasing office and management office. We didn't have a maintenance staff. And the person that lived in the apartment that managed it took care of those things. Because of the number of units at 300, we have a full-fledged leasing office and clubhouse. We have 6 to 8 people from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then we have local on-call staff 24 hours a day. We also have an emergency line and portal for residents to log in if they were to have problems after hours and they couldn't come over to the leasing office before 8 p.m. And our management is all regional, Phoenix-based, so they are still local. And again, reminder, ROARS builds the properties and they manage the properties. They're responsible for being audited by the state. So this is quite a well-oiled machine. And again, it's a 15-year minimum commitment. They don't come into a project and lease it up and flip it like some other projects can do. So there's a lot of maintenance and oversight. So we talked about the manager's unit. Like I said, I've lived somewhere where it was a small place and somebody rented an apartment and happened to manage it. We would like to press back on that, and I'd like to explain why. It's not because there's a need for it and we don't want to fulfill a need. It's because there's not a need for it. Otherwise, it would already be fulfilled. The issue here is that, kind of arbitrarily imposing a live-work requirement on one of the multiple managers of the site is a little bit difficult for us because our own managers have their own lives. They may own homes in Apache Junction or in Mesa, and they might drive into their jobs. We may not be able to pull in the most qualified people for jobs if we tell them, hey, you've got to have to move in here, sell your house, or stop renting somewhere else and rent here. And we found that with our 10 other projects, it really hasn't proven a need. We don't have any more extra calls for service or something like from the police department, I guess. So we don't have like disturbances. So there was a perception, I thought, when watching the work session that we would have like a problematic site because of the perception of what LIHTC means on our residents. Because as I'm not aware that any other apartment projects that have been approved recently in Apache Junction have been subject to a requirement that someone lives there versus us. I don't think that's a requirement. And I would reiterate, if there was an issue with that we should have an on-site manager live there, we would. Now, I will share an experience I had in Los Angeles. I lived in an apartment there where we had a manager that happened to live on site, and they would not disclose even what unit they were in. They did not want people to know where they lived in the project for any purpose because they had privacy concerns. So it's kind of an interesting twofold thing if you look at both sides. But there are specific reasons why ROARS hopes that you can support their project without imposing this kind of need on it that they don't find is really a needs-based decision. We do like to attract the most qualified professionals, and hopefully we can keep our employment pool open to the most qualified rather than finding someone that will be willing to move on site. So I hear it's an excellent location. We're all familiar with the site. It's going to be in the middle of everything. This is going to be a real boon for downtown. You know, it's just north of the Fries. This area is rapidly growing. There's lots of project approvals. It's a great site. It's a great project. We've got synergy with other market rate projects. When I say that, that means, you know, you can be, you'd qualify to live in those other projects based on income. You'd also have to pass background checks just like ours. Again, ours is an income-driven project where you have to make between X and Y, and then you can live here. The other ones are built to the, are likely built, hopefully to the same standard as ours, but they don't have the same income guidelines. The downtown core is immediately to the west and southwest of us. So our residents can walk or take an e-scooter and go to retail shopping, entertainment, employment, and of course, there's easy in and out transportation. Here's the site plan again, 14 acres. All of the buildings are laid out quite evenly. Open space is well distributed. The unit mix is, we have 300, so we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms, so it's very unique. So we do have young families that can grow in place while they're saving up for their first homes usually. So we have the ability to have young growing families live here and not have to move out when they outgrow a 2-bedroom like a lot of complexes. Density is well under the max. We're at 22.6 units per acre. We find that this is the right mix for us. It hits right on target for us and is in keeping with other approvals in the area. Building height, we're well under the allowed height at a max 45 feet, which is typical for 3 stories with a residential style roofline. And again, back to the unit mix, that dictated that we needed 666 parking spaces. We were just over that at 670. So we comply with all the standards, and as our planner Nick had mentioned, we are not asking for any leniency on standards or conditions. We're not saying we're a LIHTC property, can you give us a break on something? We're certainly building up to the city standards on all points. Vehicular access, as noted earlier, will be shared access to the south and then right in, right out along Idaho. We also have pedestrian access on all points so that our residents can circulate throughout the downtown as intended in the general plan of the zoning code. Large buffers, most of our big buffer, the big buffer is the 50-foot one that's on the east, but then we do have landscape buffers on the north, west, and south. The one on the east is an extra buffer. 7 buildings, 24 units in building type 1. You can see the architecture is quite well done. In my opinion, there's a lot of movement front to back and from top to bottom. You see a lot of jogs in the roof line that helps break down that appearance of mass when you get these larger buildings. So we do have undulated roof lines, jogged footprint, and articulated massing. Again, trying to break down the mass of that building into something that looks residential and appealing for people to live in. We have corrugated steel, vertical board and batten, standing seam awnings, brick wainscoting, and a gable roof element. That just means that we have a lot of nice materials on the building so that it doesn't look too bland. Lots of open space. We've purposely targeted the clusters of buildings to have pockets of open space, and the primary entry space that you can see there on the left is really almost a resort-style park. We've got a swimming pool, sun deck. We have restrooms there, ramadas. There's a playground for children, a turf play area if you want to kick a ball around or play cornhole, and then, of course, barbecues and picnics to bring people together for events. The walls here show where we're going to have the theme walls and the builder walls. Of course, anywhere there's public visibility, especially from Idaho, we'll have the decorative theme walls that staff has reviewed. And I'll get right to what I believe was kind of the meat and potatoes of a lot of the discussion at the work session, and that is, what is LIHTC? And as I noted earlier, it's got a terrible name when you say it out loud, Low Income Housing Tax Credit. And I'll get into more detail of what low income means, which might be surprising. Program was established, 32 years ago, and federal tax credits are in exchange and federal tax credits are provided in return for, broadly speaking, a lower rental rate compared to market by about 20%. The benefits of this is that it helps get your workforce housing, so well-qualified, gainfully employed, good citizens, if you will, in terms of having clean criminal backgrounds and decent credit. This is where they can live and afford a rental unit in your downtown. These residents usually have more spending power than market rate residents, as I said earlier, because they're not quite as house poor. the program virtually guarantees that they have some discretionary income so they can go to restaurants and spend their money in downtown Apache Junction. Again, your rent is maxed out at 30% of your gross income. And we've already hit the mark on all of the quality points and making this look and live great. Visually speaking, you wouldn't know that there was any income requirements in terms of being in those brackets versus any other apartment project in the immediate vicinity. It's a beautiful project. So the rental rates are set by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So for 2025, you can see it right there. If you want to rent a one bedroom and you fit and you qualify, it's $1,262. 2 bedrooms, $1,515, 3 bedrooms, and then 4 bedrooms checking in at just under $2,000 a month. That's to target your average city employee, somebody at the MVD, perhaps somebody in management or lower management at Price Marketplace. You know, those sorts of jobs. And I'll get to more in that in a bit. One aspect that is really nice is that they do include the utilities, so that it takes the wild card of utilities, especially in July and August, off the table and maintains stability in the project as it relates to people's income and their monthly expenses. So what is low income in these days? It might be interesting to tell you that low income now is, if you're one person with a job full-time, you're making somewhere between $30,000 and $47,000 a year. I guess that's low income these days. Two-person households, 36 to 53, three-person, 42 to 60, and then a four-person household, 46 to 67,000 is now low income. And that could be 2 parents and 2 children as a four-person household. So if you are a married couple and have 2 kids, you're considered low income in this program if you make $65,000 a year. So it's kind of interesting how that works out. Some real life income. So that Amazon delivery driver that works full time might be making $41,000 if they get a couple bucks an hour extra than the base. A new school teacher averages $44,000 a year. A new firefighter makes about $57,000, and police officer recruits usually come in right around $65,000. So all of these people would qualify. Now, if you're a veteran police officer and you're working overtime, you're clearly not going to qualify. You're going to make over $100,000. But these are the real income. So these are the residents right here. So if you don't have a job and you have bad credit, or you have a job but you're a criminal, you can't live here. So if you're a school teacher and you have clean credit and a clean criminal background and you fit in that, you're not married to somebody that makes a ton of money, you could qualify to live here. That's how it works. So I hope that helps explain what low-income tax credit means. And when we say that we're looking at, let's make sure a manager lives on site because we think that these low-income people are going to be up to no good. The low-income people we're talking about are the new school teachers. They're the Amazon delivery driver or the new police officer recruit. And it's our sense that we don't need to necessarily impose additional, staff level policing on the project because the problem doesn't exist, at least for our 10 other projects. We're not having a bunch of ruckus happen because our residents make between $30,000 and $67,000 a year or $70,000 a year. So a summary here really to get to it is that we're in conformance with the general plan, the downtown master plan. The project in its entirety makes sense. It exceeds all of the zoning requirements or meets them. Again, there's no deviations here. We're not looking for a handout. The project steps up to the plate that's been set by the city of Apache Junction. We have the support of city staff, planning commission, and the city residents. We have no opposition to the case. This is an affordable, attainable housing option that's needed. And I think it redefines unfortunately, what low income means in 2025, especially in context of the massive cost of increases we've seen in the way we live over the last 5 to 7 years. A lot more people don't realize that they're qualified as low income anymore. So anyways, that's what our presentation is here tonight. I've got the development team here from ROARS that can answer any questions if we start to get into the weeds on the LIHTC program, or if we get into any weeds on the detailed design elements of the project. We also have the architectural team, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Any questions for him? Go ahead.
I don't see any discussion or information regarding traffic
Idaho out front is owned and operated by ADOT. With the density that's going in, this is getting to be a concern. If something happens on Idaho, for instance, just recently, the light at Old West Highway in Idaho was messed up on the timing going southbound. It took 3 tries to get through the light. Traffic had backed up because the light was only staying on for roughly 6 seconds. It takes weeks, sometimes months, for ADOT to respond to something like that, to fix something simple. And we have no control over it. If we ever want to put in a 3rd lane down through there in either direction or both directions, we can't. The city can't. We have to wait for ADOT. That's a really big, legitimate concern, especially a lot of our residents have talked about that as well. I'm thinking this is a good project, but at the same time, I'd like to see maybe less density on it. Going back to the number of residents or persons per apartment, right there, a married couple and 2 kids is a 4-person household. How many people can be in a 4-bedroom apartment?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Cross, all good questions. So I can start first on the number of residents. I believe there's certainly a lease agreement between the resident and Roars. I would defer to the gentleman here from Roars. One moment.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, City Council. Great question. So on a 4-person household, for example, in a four-bedroom unit, like Jason mentioned, it would be in the lease agreement, but it would be no more than 6.
Okay, so the maximum number of people that can be in any of your apartments, period,
Would be
is
6.
6?
Yep.
So 6 people could be in a 3-bedroom, or?
No,
is
it's a
specific?
ratio. So
Okay.
it would be it would go down by 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. But so the max would be 6 for a 4-bedroom unit.
Okay. And regarding the traffic?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. So a TIA was performed for both this site and the multifamily development to the south, and that was approved, and I can let staff speak to that as well. But we'll continue to work with staff on any traffic requirements and whatnot for future improvements and make sure those are met. To your density point, I will note that, as Jason mentioned earlier, we are well below what we could be providing on site. We're at, I believe it's 22 units per acre, so we're well below the threshold. But we'll continue to work with staff on any improvements that they see fit. But a TIA was done and approved.
Will residents be able to control their air conditioning 100% of the time, or do you guys have it set up to where you can throttle it when it's, they leave the house and set it at 66 degrees, and you say, oh, no, you're not going to have that kind of cooling. We'll turn it back down later, but
No, residents
that
will have
happens.
full control over everything.
do they get penalized for overuse of water?
No, sir.
It's hard to tell on the pictures, but are those actual walkout balconies, or are those just decoration?
No, we will be having balconies on the units.
Okay. One of our questions that we had was recertification purposes. Do the tenants recertify and are vetted each and every year? Or is it an honor system that they just come up to you and say, nope, I still have the same job and I'm still making the same money, and my husband's working for cash, and what?
Sure, yeah, and on this recertification question, it depends on the issuer, but so it isn't fully decided right now that we can just do recertifications like self-honor system or whatnot. But I will note to that, if that is the process we go and get approval for, all of these files will have to be sent to the state each year, so the state audits the project. So we have to comply with all the thresholds. And if they find one person that isn't qualified, there's serious ramifications for that. So obviously, we don't want to allow that at our property because we have to deal with the repercussions from that.
Which brings up another good point. Our state is horrible when it comes to auditing and following through on various things. And through my research on LIHTC, a lot of those issues get left on the wayside with state oversight. When tenants complain, issues don't get taken care of right away, or they're put off, the state makes a threat saying, hey, you need to get this fixed. Yep, it's on the schedule. And a month later, yep, still on the schedule. We're going to get it fixed. I mean, I went down to your property in Casa Grande, and in my opinion, it was kind of bland. It didn't have that, it just looked really open. I know it's a new project. I realize that the vegetation has had a chance to grow, but it just looked very simple. It didn't look like the sophistication or the higher end quality that you purport. We asked during our meeting regarding giving us a southwest look. The closest thing I see to southwest look is your actual clubhouse with a single story, and that looks more southwest. But why not some Vegas? We gave you Superstition Harley Davidson as a prime example of a southwest look, that we're trying to come up with something that's unique that we can say, this is Apache Junction. And, what I see in this is just another, looks like downtown Moscow or downtown Tempe, just regular housing that you would find just about anywhere. I don't see anything Southwest unique to it. We talk about the financial ends of this. Would you be willing to share your tax forms to the city and the credits that you're bringing in? Kind of a little bit more of an open book type situation.
Yeah, and I'm sure we can work with city and city staff on that. I know we just have to keep in mind like fair housing laws, but I'm sure, we're an open book. We're here for the long term, at least 15 years. We want to be a good community partner, make a great project. So we'll work with staff and the city on whatever they need.
At what point in time will and can you change these units to Section 8?
I don't think that would be possible, to be honest.
After 15 years, can it be rolled over into Section 8 type housing?
No, it
Because you
cannot.
no longer have to keep it as LIHTC?
So after 15 years, there's an extended use period. So we'd go through the tax credit process again and re-up for 15 years. So it's pretty much 30 years. We wouldn't necessarily need to do that ourselves. Another developer could do that, but it would have to remain affordable. Same program for 15 years. And then after the 30-year period, that could switch to market rate, or else they could bring it through the process again. But it could not turn over to just a full voucher Section 8 deal.
Anyone else?
I just want to be clear that this will be a crime-free multi-housing, and we'll make a yearly report to the chief's office on how you followed up on any complaints that came in.
Yep, absolutely, and we have agreed to that.
And I'm a big advocate of having a live-on site manager. Is that going to kill this deal if you don't get that?
I wouldn't say it would necessarily kill it. We obviously want to work with you and make the best project here possible. And Jason touched on it a little bit. We've never had an on-site manager at any of our deals around the country, and especially the 10 in Arizona. We haven't seen it needed. And if one was required, again, it would limit the pool of applicants. And obviously, we want to hire the most qualified person for the job that will do the best job. And not everyone wants to live where they work. So the pool would be decreased and it would just limit flexibility. But obviously, we want to work with you to make the best project possible. But based on our experience, it hasn't been needed. And that's why, as it currently sits and is planned, we don't have a designated manager unit.
Okay, I'm going to make a couple of comments concerning the LIHTC, any aspect on it. We currently have some facilities in town that are, have been underneath the LIHTC program and have now exceeded, gone into, we'll say, retail rental. And there's some others that are, still ongoing. Yes, there are different types of construction, but we've been very successful in the ones that we have in our community. And like one of them's right across from the library and the aspect on it. Nick, can you explain where some of the others are located at? So the public will understand that, number one, LIHTC is not considered, say, Section 8 homes. These are, projects that have worked very good in the community in the past.
Thank you, Your Honor. So just as a note, there are currently 5 LIHTC developments within the city of Apache Junction. Roars would be the 6th. So what is shown here, the one that you just referred to, the Apache Junction townhomes right across from the library. There is the Apache Junction villas. There is behind this shopping center, we have the crossings at Apache Junction. Sunset Vista Estates was a recently developed project. It is a 55-plus community. They're already zoned multifamily, so that one didn't go through the city review process other than design review because they could build out right. And then we have the senior cottages located right across the Meridian line, but right in our city. So those are the LIHTC projects that are currently in the city of Apache Junction operating that way, or that have operated that way.
How many of them have a live-in manager?
We're not aware of any of them having live-in managers. It hasn't been a city requirement, but I'm not aware of that as one of their functions of operation.
Do you have any idea how many people, how many units are in those different places? Is anybody near the size of this?
None of them are near this size and density. There are apartment complexes, but I don't think any of them are at this size. I think the most we would see is probably around the crossings at Apache Junction. Apache Junction Townhomes is a larger development as well, just in terms of landmass, but because they're all townhomes, the density is a bit lower, spread out. But I would say with crossings at Apache Junction, I would say upward of, are you already?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Sonoma Village on the southeast corner of Royal Palm and Old West Highway also started out as a LIHTC project, and that project probably has at least a couple hundred units in it. However, they were built back in the 90s, so their LIHTC has probably run out, but that was one other project. Similar apartment type development, 2-story.
Another question. Yes. It's going to go to you. On a weekend, night, something happens. They pick up the phone, they call the emergency number. How long does it take, and who do they get in contact with?
No, thank you. Through the mayor, Councilman Salter. Let me ask him how long the response rates are.
Yeah, so like Jason mentioned, we have an office in Phoenix, and for the 6 to 8 staff members on site. Most will be local. So it would go straight to the head maintenance manager's line. And then if he's unavailable, it would be someone in our main office. So, I mean, we've had it happen on various occasions, like a leak or something. It would be less than a couple hours. I mean, they jump on it right away.
But it gets picked up immediately, right?
Yes, it gets picked up immediately and flagged immediately. And I mean, ideally, it's within half an hour. If
Talk to a human.
yes, correct.
Your Honor,
Yes.
do you have any requirements that if the person's not living on site, that they live within a certain radius, a certain distance from the property?
Yeah, I don't know if there's any certain requirement, but that goes into the application process and hiring process. I mean, we don't want to hire someone 3 hours away. We want them to be local to the community just because, I mean, we're here for the long run. We want to integrate with the residents, fit in with the city, so it's always easier having someone from the area or familiar with the area running the property, if that's the case.
So will it be a requirement that they have to be an Apache Junction resident?
It won't be a requirement that they are an Apache Junction resident, but it will be a requirement that they're in the near vicinity.
So they could live down at Power Road, 10 miles away?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have
Yes.
a concern. Regardless of, because I'm really a fan of having somebody live there because I've seen the differences between places that have somebody on site all the time because, you guys go home at 8 o'clock, when the trouble happens between 8 p.m. at night and 8 o'clock in the morning. It's usually when it's dark, okay? And there's a big difference in personal pride if you live there as opposed to, I clock out, I go home. I don't have to deal with that. If you don't have somebody on site, how is that really being, what are the inspections and things of that nature to make sure that whoever is on this management team, because when you said you have like 6 to 8 people, I would think that at least one of them could have lived there. How are they going to be monitoring to keep this whole project looking good rather than deteriorating over time? That's my concern.
Well, thank you, and through the mayor, Councilmember Johnson, just a couple of points. I think you make a good point. You want the best for the city, and you don't want this thing to deteriorate and turn into an eyesore or worse, a public safety problem. They own and manage the project for 15 years. The question I kind of want to ask a couple of the council members if we can get some feedback on why this specific project is so different than the other 2 apartment complexes that are being built nearby. Is it because there's a perception like if you make between $30,000 and $70,000 a year, that makes it different, or is there something else about the
That's
project there's a
ridiculous.
concern about?
No, absolutely
That's
not.
absolutely ridiculous for you to say.
No, I didn't mean it in a way. We're just trying to make sure we get it, because I think what we're going to is I've talked with Roars, and I think if it really comes down to needing an on-site manager for the site, then they can make that happen. That's where I wanted to go with that. So
I
I
can
just
tell you
didn't know.
my reasoning. I think all apartment complexes have live-in. I don't care what apartment complex, if it's $10,000 a month, I don't care. You should have a live-on manager. That's my personal opinion. I deal with apartment complexes a lot in my job. I'm a police lieutenant, and I can tell you, the ones that have a live-on manager, we don't have as many problems, and we got somebody we can immediately go to.
All right, so it's for the speed of response and, like you said, the
And the
pride of.
fact-
For me,
the pride of-
I don't care about, I actually like your project. I like it.
Yeah.
For the speed.
2 things I am adamant about is crime-free, and I really like the idea of having a live-on manager. I wish I would have did it on the other ones. I did not, and that's my fault.
Understood. Now I understand, thank you. So the speed and the
Well,
pride of
and you're putting some beautiful-looking buildings right in our downtown.
down.
So when we have anything that's going into downtown, we're looking very, very closely to make sure that we feel like what we see the first day is what we're going to still see in 5 years, in 10 years. Because when you're putting your investment there, we're also investing in our downtown. And we only have one area to do that in. So
one
if we
chance.
seem a little pickier, it's because we're trying to develop that.
Your Honor?
Yes.
You know, Rudy brought up Sonoma Village, and that, you know, it was built in the 90s. If you go by it right now, that's not what we want as our pride and joy downtown. It has fallen on the wayside. It's not like it was probably when it was first put in. You know, it's sad that it wasn't upkept, or kept up and you know, made to be what it should be. You know, where's the assurance in your product that it's going to be, you know, or are you going to sell it after 15 years and the same thing happens that has happened to Sonoma Village? Or, you know, are you in there for the 30-year? You know, the one LIHTC product that they put in, the Apache Junction townhomes there across from the library. After 15 years, the residents were able to purchase them. You know, you could have these as condos, and after 15 years, they could purchase them.
Yeah, I'll just provide a little bit more color, if you don't mind, Mayor, council members, Kevin Sturgeon at Roars. Maybe just to provide a little bit more context and background on that. I think what we're maybe trying to get at a little bit is, so some of the other projects that were mentioned, that were developed, started back in the 90s, that was under the old low-income housing tax credit program, which used to be the Section 8 program, which generally means when that happened, rent was subsidized by the government, versus now the new program, which is why we're able to develop these so nicely from a construction standpoint, design standpoint, you know, architectural standpoint, and everything. The rents, they're fully paid for by the tenant. So, Councilmember Johnson, to your kind of question, a big thing, you know, that, you know, Jason mentioned about us being, you know, not only developing the property, but doing the construction, property management, and being on site is, you know, unlike some of those old programs or deals under the old program where the government would subsidize the rent, we have to be super cautious about, you know, from a PR standpoint, leasing standpoint, review standpoint, because, you know, if things happen on site or if tenants aren't behaving in a, you know, a bad manner, you know, we have to be very conscious of that, because if people move out or people need to leave, you know, we can't just look to the government to say, hey, you know, provide us with another tenant and they'll pay the rent. You know, we have to be conscious of our Google reviews. We have to be conscious of our PR in the city of Apache Junction, because we have to go out and find these tenants. And if tenants are looking for a good property to stay at and live at, you know, obviously they want to be at a property that's safe, you know, feels like home and everything. So if things ever really started to get out of hand, we obviously have a vested interest in making sure that doesn't happen, because that can obviously compound when, you know, word travels very fast, right? So when word gets out that it's an unsafe area or, you know, not habitable to live, you know, just whatever the case may be, we obviously do not want that to happen, because then we're not going to be able to get tenants. So just wanted to provide a little bit, you know, a background on that when kind of Jason mentioned some of the other market rate communities. You know, the government doesn't subsidize the rent here. The tenants actually have to pay the rent. So, you know, we're very conscious of that, you know, in all the areas that we go in, you know, when it comes to security concerns or whatever the case may be, is that we are always looking out for that, because if we start developing properties that have security concerns or, you know, things are happening on site, you know, that, you know, word travels fast. Google reviews are out. When people Google the property, if there's crime happening, obviously people won't want to move in there and live there. So it's something that we're always super conscious of, not only when we open it, but 5, 10 plus years from now, because it's always something that we have to monitor. So just wanted to provide that context in case that's helpful for you.
Any other? Yes.
I have a question for Joel. Is there any legal ramifications for us to require someone on site where we haven't been requiring that anyplace else?
Mayor, members of the council, I think this is a conditional use permit. you may require reasonable conditions. And I think that would be considered a reasonable condition, especially based on the talk that's now on the record. When I say on the record, it's being recorded, so if this thing ever got appealed for whatever reason, if it went to Superior Court, for example, a judge would look at what you said about a condition. So, and I think that would withstand scrutiny.
I can tell you from now on in, I'm gonna pretty much want an on-site live-in manager on all the new ones if we get any more.
Okay.
This isn't discussion, correct? This is just questions to the developer.
Yeah. Okay, now you open it up to the general public. Okay, I will now open up to the public hearing. There's a 5-minute time limit with a 1-minute warning that you will hear. Please state your name and address for the record.
Donna Carr, Apache Junction resident. And just to say, most of the people, a majority, I should say, of the people in Apache Junction don't want these guys to keep on letting in transient communities. And it has nothing to do with income. It has to do with that if you own your own home, you take care of it. When it comes to transient people in apartment complexes, they don't take care of it like you would your own home. And I know the legislation wants to stick their piece in everyone's face and say, Apache Junction, we own you. We're going to tell you what you're allowed to put in your community. That they're a hired position. They shouldn't have say over somebody that got voted into office by the people for the people. And when you talked about whether or not if they use an excessive amount of electricity or an excessive amount of water, does that mean that they are paying the water bill and the electric bill? Because if you are, it does count towards the 100 years worth of water use. If the leasee is paying the water bill, it's not counting towards our water use. And as far as having a manager on the property, hell, man, you live in a homeowners association. The people there, you know who's running your homeowners association because they're in your neighborhood. You know where they live. So who cares if they know where the manager lives in an apartment complex? Thank you.
Mayor Wilson, members of the council, my name is Reese Anderson, and my address is 1744 South Val Vista in Mesa, and it's always a pleasure to be with you. I hope each of you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I wish each of you and everyone that can hear my voice a Merry Christmas. I'm here tonight on behalf of Bellaflor Communities. You know, they own the property immediately south and a little bit to the southeast. Mr. Hewish and Mr. Hassel could not be here because of prior family commitments, and they asked me to express their greetings to you and their apologies they couldn't be here. Just a little bit of background is that Bellaflor and Roars partnered together on a project in Maricopa. They referenced that earlier. And because of that relationship, they found them to be trustworthy, found them to be good operators, found them to be good to work with, just like you see in the fourth page of your staff report at the second to last paragraph. We found that same thing that staff did, that these are good people to work with, good operators, and therefore, when this opportunity came along, they decided to reach out to Roars and made that, again, partnership here. And I don't think that Bellaflor would have done that if they wouldn't have trusted that right next to their project, their future project, would be a project they wouldn't want. So we stand here tonight urging your support. We defer to you on the questions that you've asked, which have been good questions, but we urge your support, and just know that the adjacent property owner supports this request. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I hope I stayed under my 5 minutes.
Yep, you did.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Well, here's a question.
No,
Can't
can't
ask,
ask.
that's right. Bummer.
No,
Can't ask.
can't ask a question.
No problem. Thank you.
Catherine Meek, AJ resident. I've been frantically taking notes during these discussions. discovered that Roars was founded in 2012, and they just started their low-income section division in 2019. So they haven't been around a long time. The project looks kind of exciting, and we need income housing that we can afford, but the talk about Sonoma Valley Apartments kind of got me Googling, and yeah, they start out low income, and it was under 15 years when they had some challenges, had a foreclosure, and now it's, not the same kind of housing anymore. And I'm wondering if the economy goes bad and Roars folds, they can't pay all their bills, what happens to it? Does that mean it bounces out of LIHTC? If it gets resold, are there the same restrictions and rules, or does it suddenly get converted into Section 8 housing? Hopefully that wouldn't happen, but it's something to wonder about. And I'm sure we could get the answers at some point. There's just a lot of concerns I have because I've seen it go wrong in another state. And it's not fun to look up the street and see that wonderful housing development that all these promises were made. They'd have live-in people managing the place. They would be crime-free, et cetera, et cetera. There's another dumpster on fire, and they just had a couple more drug overdoses. Promises are great until the company gets sold, folds, or whatever. I know we're talking about, or you're talking a lot about the on-site management. What about an overnight representative that happens to live there? And it's just their job from 8 to 8 to be available if residents have an issue. Then they make the phone calls and take care of it. It's not a manager per se, but it's somebody to talk to and that's on site representing the company. Anyway, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Wilson, council members, staff. My name is Elisa Krasilik. I'm a resident here of Apache Junction. I lived here 9 years. And first of all, let me compliment and commend the council on the incredible job that we've done as a city to help turn around the reputation that Apache Junction has had by some, not all. And now we're a community that is growing, that is developing. We're seeing more the Wolf Project coming in, higher income housing to bring a higher level of individual to come to our community. We have all the new housing going south of the 60. And for me personally, I don't think this is a project that we want to consider. We already have a lot of low-income housing. And make no mistake, I want everybody to have a roof over their head. Nobody should be homeless. But there's the what-ifs. What if they have their 5th child, but we have a cap of 6 people in our unit? So then what happens? Are they going to kick them out? Well, where do these people go? What happens if they're not following the rules and the regulations? Again, there becomes the question of who's going to hold them accountable. We talk about the manager. I also own a mobile home at Royal Palm, and they do not have a manager that lives on site. As a matter of fact, they've had 5 managers in the last year. There is no skin in the game if a manager does not live in the residence to be able to manage what's going on a day-to-day job. It's just that. It becomes a job. There doesn't become any loyalty to this is where they live, where they eat, where they sleep, where they break bread. And so I think there's a bit of a concern there. We've spent a lot of time in council meetings talking about what are we going to do with the downtown area. We're trying to develop it so that we have people come out, go to the restaurants, create some evening life, some different activities and entertainment. But we're talking about a low-income family or person that while in fact maybe 30% of their gross income goes to their living, well, it makes it difficult to spend a lot of money. I don't know how you define a lot of money, but when it is a limited income situation, they don't have the monies to spend. We're trying to build retail. We're trying to bring people into this community. And what concerns me is who will be brought in? People from everywhere else. Those of us that live in Apache Junction, we recognize and we appreciate the beauty of the southwest view. When we look at a building, and make no mistake, I think it's beautiful. It is almost too nice. We've got the clubhouse, the dog parks. It is so nice that of course people are going to come from all around. But what happens when they break the rules? Then they stay. Does this contribute to our homeless population? I don't know. But I will say this, in looking at all of the ways that we're spending our money, trying to maintain the buildings, it's a concern. If you look at the older rundown buildings, are they going to stay maintained or aren't they? For me, I believe that piece of property is valuable. It's sort of like beachfront property. It's got the view of the Superstition. There is nothing more majestic than the Superstitions. And yet we're putting this nice building, attracting low-income people to view the Superstition. It's like putting a Motel 6 on the beach as opposed to a Marriott. And I feel like this could be some sort of a housing unit, but I feel it needs to be considered for something other than low-income housing. Let me check my notes, because I too took a lot of notes. We talked about it being for our firemen, our teachers, our police, our senior citizens. I think there is a lot of buildings and homes already for our senior citizens. We have the largest number of small unit housing, so I don't think that our seniors are not being housed appropriately. And then lastly, I just simply want to say, where's the guarantee? On paper, things are very different than what the real world is. And so while we say, well, we're going to do this, we're going to maintain that, how do we hold people accountable to these standards? It's easy to say today, well, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we're going to do that. But how do we know? How do we know what that's going to look like in 5, 10, 15 years and then beyond that? So I think that's something to be considered. Is there a contractual agreement that holds everybody accountable? I don't know. I guess that's the question for the council to decide. Thank you for listening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Andre Meek, 1327 South Bel Air, here in AJ. Low income. It's turning into a bad word here. What is low income? Well, they spelled out what they consider low income. And you look at it, and yeah, we're not talking about, guys flipping hamburgers. We're talking about, entry-level policemen, firemen, teachers, all of that are looking for places to live, that don't want to live in low-income apartments. They'd like something better than that. And, I believe this gives the opportunity to have, a step up from, what is affordable, what is considered Section 8. It's a step up from that, because you can't get into a house, try to rent a house, $2,500. And, you can't buy one. They start at, a fixer-upper at $300,000. So, I think this gives an opportunity for people that are not down and out, not scraping by, but trying to get somewhere, a decent place to live. Now, yeah, it's a choice piece of property for that, because like the last speaker said, you got the view of the Superstitions and all that, but you got that view in most of AJ. And so I think that, the project as presented with guarantees would be a good thing. Now, as my wife pointed out, one of the other units or projects that started out this way and then went into bankruptcy, and at that point, the controls, all the promises, went down by the wayside. Okay, so now those are market apartments, not, controlled apartments. So trying to, get the guarantees, I guess, is a big part. Live-in managers is good if you can make it happen. And that's the hard part, is the person that's living there, that's working, a good job, trying to get somewhere, want to be a manager of the apartments? Are you going to hire somebody as a manager and pay them, basically you're paying them to live there, Is it, how are you going to do that? So, yeah, a lot of questions here. And I'm pretty much for the project just because of the niche that it'll fill as far as housing. There are many other things, and and the whole thing is, it don't matter where the project is, it don't matter if it's high end, low end, somebody's not gonna like it. So, I leave it to you guys to make the decision. Thank you.
Mahmood Mayuddin, 2304 North Cortez Road, Apache Junction. Few years ago, Apache Junction has a really bad name. Talking about people don't want to move to Apache Junction, don't want to live in Apache Junction. And our city and the council, previous council, you guys did a great job now bringing the standard up. We have a higher standard now. A lot of people looking, building a few $100,000, $1 million homes around here. And if you guys decide to approve this one, you guys going backward like South Phoenix projects, all those areas, look at it. Our standard is high. Now we need to look at a little better thing what we can do. Downtown, you guys trying to promote or build a downtown over there for some special things over there. And right next to you guys building the low-income people, how they're gonna support it. There's all kind of things to be a consideration. No management on duty over there. Cannot fix it. And you guys have 2, 3 of them before over here. These are same situation, and few years down the road, it's just destroyed. And we need to bring our standard going up and up. We need to up and up, and we need to go. The future people can move in over here, more $1 million home, more peoples, and support the businesses and support everything else. Thank you.
Okay, I'll now close.
Wait.
Oh, sorry.
Hello. Okay, Kathy Waz, 5951 East Broadway, Apache Junction. So I agree a lot with what Mo just said and one of the ladies that spoke over here. I think the low income for what it is, if it's really 30 to 70, if there was some written guarantee and all that, unfortunately, it's not really low income, and I agree that we need housing for all the people, the teachers, the entry level, firefighters, everything. I just don't know that piece of property, considering what's already been approved and how many rental projects we have going on in apartments, is what Apache Junction needs to develop that downtown. And it feels like what I'm seeing is everything are the rentals coming first, and I don't know if low-income housing, even though it's really more moderate income, if it is actually those numbers, 30 to 70, if that's going to attract the businesses, that is the vision for the downtown. And it is a prime piece of property, and yes, we have views of the superstitions everywhere, but there's definitely views, and you've already got the Wolf project going in right next to it, and this project is much better looking. It is unfortunate we didn't get something like this approved for I think this building, even though I know you mentioned that you went to the Casa Grande one, which thank you for going and looking at them, maybe looked a little more simple than what we saw. This was one of the nicer ones, but I just don't think low-income housing right in the downtown development with all the other rentals and apartments that are going on there, I don't think it's going to draw the businesses that we're trying to draw, to develop. And I think we could use a project like that, but maybe not right there in the middle of the downtown. Because right now, we've gotten a few new places to eat, but there's still all the development that you guys want, that everybody wants for our downtown. And so, I don't know, you've got, I read section 42, I'm reading low income, I don't know which one. I read section 42 is like 50% income, it can't be over 50% of the median income. So that's why I'm questioning the 30 to 70,000. Would it be written that way? I don't know. I just don't know that it's the right project for the area. And maybe there's something better that could come along, and maybe this project would be good someplace else. I'm not against the housing, I'm against where it's being put and the fact that we have so many rental projects. With that said, 4 bedrooms, 670 parking spaces. How many adults can be in a 4-bedroom? I know it can be up to 6 people, but can we have 4 adults splitting that 4-bedroom with 4 vehicles per traffic? Can you have 6 drivers? Is there parking enough? I mean, how many 1-bedrooms? I don't know those details. So I would question that too for traffic reasons. And how many adults can be in those 3 and 4 bedrooms? That's it.
All right. Anyone else like to speak on this? I will now close the public hearing. Any comments from the council? Yes?
You know, I heard a lot of things, pros, cons, and everything else. I do believe that our city does need something for the people that are in these income brackets. Whether it is down by 60 or it's in downtown, regardless of which, anybody who's in those income levels deserves to live in an area that they would like to live. And I don't think that, you know, somebody said, well, you know, why would kind of like wasting the view on people in those income brackets. They work very hard for what may not be the biggest income. They also deserve the best opportunity in our city that we can offer them. When you look at rents that are out there that are $1,500 for an apartment, and we're talking $1,262, which is inclusive of the utilities. I know a lot of us look at, okay, here's my mortgage, here's my utilities. That's a big deal. I do think it's important that we have somebody watching it at all times, because if there is an incident and it's after 8 o'clock and there is a police officer that has to come, it'd be nice to be able to pull in there and find somebody in charge, no matter when that is.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
If I may, before you go further. The code requires you to discuss the findings. It's under 1-16-12. Nick placed those factors in his first report. So just make sure you go through those findings before you make a motion. And it's number 3A through G, whatever you feel are applicable to this project.
Are we in discussion mode right now, Chip?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's been a lot of talk about a tax bracket and how much money people are making to be able to live that's shameful, people. It really is. Where I'm at this particular project, and it was asked, what's the difference? In my mind, and for our downtown use, the difference is this is east of Idaho Road. Idaho Road is a beeline to the lake. We're talking boats, lots of traffic, the gas stations, the grocery store. This is just going to multiply that tremendously. And not to mention, we can see with the map we saw earlier that this city is not against LIHTC type housing. You've seen the other projects out there. For a 3-story to be put right on Idaho Road, right across the street from our downtown core, it does change the landscape of our downtown and how people view our downtown and when they come to visit. We hold a lot of events at Flatiron Park. We host parades down Main Street. We do many, many things in that area and more to come. And I feel like we can do better than a 45-foot high complex. We've seen these things be successful in townhomes, in cottages, 2 stories, condos. They're successful in many different designs. So with that being said, this is nothing more than just submitting to the developer's bottom line, allowing like a three-story, 300-unit complex. I feel for our downtown landscape and what we want to accomplish downtown, that we can do better than a wall separating our main attraction area from our main attraction sites.
Anna?
Yes.
I tend to agree with Vice Mayor. Location, location, location. To me, this would be a great project, maybe just north of our high school, and that great big empty lot that's been empty for as long as this lot's been empty, right? Quick, easy, fast access to the freeway. You know, it just makes a lot more sense there than it does right here. You know, I also don't feel that they hit the mark when it comes to that western look that we all strive or are eager to have, something that we can say, this is AJ, this is our design. We don't have that with this. It's just another building. I mean, yeah, they put a lot of effort in trying to change it from what it originally was, but, you know, it still doesn't quite meet my vision.
Can I allow the developers, if they want to respond to some of the statements that was made in the call to the public?
We'll have to reopen it.
If you do that, you can, absolutely. But I think then you'd have to open it back up to the public if you want to do that.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Sure. Yeah, let me go to the bathroom first.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, before we open that up, how about us taking a 5-minute break for a restroom? Okay, I'll call the city council meeting back to order. Everyone's back from the restroom. And I'd like to have the contractor or owner make some of the comments concerning what the public has said. Does he want to say anything? Do
I want to respond.
you want to respond?
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to respond. Thank you for all of the comments and also in response to the public's comments. I think we've already talked about the income thing quite a bit to death. I think it's a program that's out there, but I wanted to address a couple of the concerns, like what if the floor falls out? Someone said, what if this company were to go out of business? So to specifically address the LIHTC program, if Roar's companies were to not operate anymore, someone that would come in would have to also continue to participate in this program for the life of the 15 years. And after that, the only way it can go is either to renew for another 15 years, or they would just go into market rate. So unfortunately, for residents at that time, I guess the rents could go up. But the idea of defaulting into some sort of a Section 8 doesn't exist because the Section 8 program, as it's thought of, it doesn't exist anymore. So it's either they would be LIHTC or they would go to market rate. And I hope that helps, answer that. I also think, like, as several of the council members talked about, the pride of ownership, or at least the pride of residency of the project, since they are apartments. If it is the will of the council to press us to look into a manager's unit, I've talked with the Roar's team, and they understand what you're all saying about maintenance. I think one was like, how quickly can you respond to the residents' concerns? Like, if someone has a water pipe, or there's a disturbance, or whatever. They would be willing to talk to their overall management team about how they could ensure that one of the 6 to 8 staff members could perhaps qualify for LIHTC and still live on site, because they would still have to meet with the program requirements. But they would explore that. So if it's the will of the council to continue to try to support this project on some sort of a condition that be added, like a residency for one of the managers, they would probably ask for a continuance to explore that option entirely, to make sure that they can offer it in confidence to the council as a means to get your support. Because the last thing we would want to do is barrel into, a hearing tonight to have the project completely shut down. A beautiful project in the downtown, and then to get denied, it would just go away. I think they want to be successful. They want you to see it as a success, and that they would explore the manager unit further if that's something they could actually really offer with a LIHTC requirements. They're inclined to offer it right now. They just need to make sure LIHTC in the government requirements will work. Because we get it. We hear you loud and clear on maintenance, keeping it up, delivering and maintaining into perpetuity, which you demand for downtown. So that makes sense.
Your Honor,
Yes.
correct me if I'm wrong, but a LIHTC project can be considered LIHTC as long as at least 20% of the units are available as LIHTC, right?
Let me check on the percentage, but he has a number right off his head.
Yeah, that's correct, depending on the funding type.
So
and whatnot.
91.5% of these built units would be LIHTC, and 0.5%, one unit, could be the manager's office.
Correct. And what Jason's asking is for us to go back, because obviously that would be something new for us, of having a manager unit that would not be income qualified, so it would be a market rate unit. So we would want to go back, talk to the state, talk to the property management, and come up with a full-fledged game plan on how logistically that would work and present that to you. But that is something we are willing to offer.
Thank you.
Any other, you want to?
Yep, Your Honor. So, obviously, there's many different positions on this. I guess I'm going back to the fact that we look back at our master plan, that voters voted in quite significantly in favor of it. Our master plan and our downtown master plan calls for diversity in housing and encourages multifamily housing. The reason being, our goal was to create a downtown where people could walk to the restaurants and the entertainment and all the things that we are looking forward to as part of that ongoing development, but we can't get that until we have more people living year-round down in our downtown area. This would accomplish that. There's diversity in the housing that we're looking at. Well, part of that is making it more affordable. It's discussion about, starter homes. Yeah, starter homes are $490,000. So that may not be realistic for some of our folks that would be living in this situation. So we have to take that into consideration. And even market rates for rental are high. And if you look around, I've checked a number of other cities. A lot of the development right now going in is apartments, rental units, because people can't afford a $500,000 home with a down payment of, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. I've been to a number of these LIHTC properties, Apache Junction Townhomes, the Apache Junction Villas, and this is just recently. They're pretty well kept. They're not, you don't look at these and go, oh my God, that's a slum. It's not. It's, I think we have to recognize that. Certainly, it would be ideal to have someone that could be there, if it's possible, 24 hours a day. But even if not, I think I've heard conversations about having someone there after hours. So if there was something wrong, someone could respond to that after hours. But during the day, you've got all these other 6 to 8 staff that are going to keep an eye on things. I believe this is something that this community needs and can benefit from because it meets a number of our criteria. And hence for that, I support that. Plus, the gentleman from Balfour indicated they've worked with Roars before. That says a lot to me when you have a developer that has worked with this company and they've had a good experience, they've had success. I think that means a lot as well. So the folks that are thinking that this is going to turn into an eyesore, I pray it doesn't because, you'll come hang me for it. But I think we need to give this a chance.
Now, you're asking for having a continuance on this to do a study on the opportunities to bring in a live-in management?
Yeah, we can get back to you on exactly how that would work, and we can lay that out if that would be helpful. But I mean, we're willing to offer it to get the support of the council. So.
So can we bring this back our next council meeting then?
Yeah. How much time would you need?
A month or, no.
Next city council meeting would be December 16th. But before you make any motions, I think you do have to open it up for the public again.
Okay. Well, I'll open it up to the public again for the public comments. Anyone like to speak on it?
Thank you, Mayor, Councilman, staff. Quick question that I have is nothing's been addressed.
Pull the mic down for you.
Sorry. Nothing's been addressed.
And could we
with
get your
the-
name and record?
Name
Oh, Chantel Westall,
And address.
address 2363 North Valley Drive. Nothing's been addressed about the traffic, about the number of cars. And if you have 6 people, taper down to 4 people a unit, that's quite a few people. Quite a few traffic, like you said, that's a main road to get out of town, right, for the lakes. We already see a ton of traffic on Lost Dutchman, Brown. I don't know how we can handle additional traffic without some other planning. And you bring that, we have a lot of the new housing development going on the South 60. I know we want to bring those people in. I just don't know how we're going to handle all of that traffic. We're already having issues, accidents, deaths on those major intersections. So I don't know if what that's been taken into consideration. So, thanks.
Donna Carr, Apache Junction resident. The building reminds me of Phoenix, and I think there's going to be a lot of traffic problems. I think, it's the main road that heads out towards the lakes, and to go hiking or anything like that, to go to Tia Flats, which there's a lot of traffic that heads out that way. I think that they would be better off over by Tomahawk or towards Old West Highway where the other apartment complexes are. But on that strip, I don't think that they belong there. It's just, it would be an eyesore. And I'm opposed to putting in more places for rent other than to own in Apache Junction. And I think that area would be better. I mean, shoot, if you're going to put something in, why don't you put it in a movie theater or something? To me, that'd be better off. Thank you.
We don't.
Oh, one more thing. We don't want to go back to being called Dysfunction Junction.
Anyone else? All right, I'll close the public hearing. Can I have a motion for this?
Your Honor, I move for a continuance to the next council meeting on the 16th.
December 16th, yes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call on that.
Councilmember Suller,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder,
No.
Councilmember Nesser,
Yes.
Councilmember Cross,
No.
Councilmember Heck,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
No.
Mayor Wilson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-3 for a continuance to reappear on December 16th.
Okay. Find out my place, what I'm doing now. Presentation, discussion, consideration, resolution number 25-39. Chief Pulley.
Nope. Mike Beaton.
We're actually going to have Commander Beaton come up and present.
Mike Beaton.
Mayor, council members, Commander Mike Beaton with the Apache Junction Police Department. Here tonight to talk to you about one of the areas I'm over, which is the traffic division. So we are looking at signing an intergovernmental agreement to join the Pinal County Traffic Task Force. As you can see, as you guys have, as our population grows, our accidents get a little more complex and a little more in general. So this is kind of highlighted last year when we had a DUI driver go into the Elks Lodge, causing significant damage and 17 victims of that. So, I mean, the complexity of that accident, it's pretty big. And we have our traffic unit's 5 officers, with only 2 of them currently being qualified to investigate an accident of that size, accident reconstructionists and the like that are qualified for that. So what we're looking to do is Pinal County has a task force which includes Florence, Coolidge, Eloy, Maricopa, Queen Creek, and the sheriff's office. So it'll give us access to 29 detectives, highly trained, as well as our 2 members which will join this. It'll give us 5 detectives on call, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for any complex accident that we have. So like I said, we currently don't have detectives that are on standby. We have to call them and hope that they're available. I don't like relying on hope. I want to guarantee you we have detectives available. So this will give us that guarantee. It's a force multiplier. Like I said, it gives us access to those 29 detectives with 5 guaranteeing being able to come out at any time, 24/7. So any questions?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes, sir.
You said there'll be 2 of our officers that will be made a part of this task force?
Yes, sir. Currently, we have 2 officers that have the training and the experience to be able to join this task force. They will join, they're from on our traffic unit, they will join that, and they will be put on standby, not every week, but in a rotation. So there'll be one of those 5 that are on standby for this task force.
Okay, so having read part of the resolution, though, so it looks like the goal is to utilize grant funding or RICO funds to help, pay for the expenses for this task force, for our contribution.
You can use grant funding if needed. We don't have to. We can use GOHS funds, which is grant funding, or RICO funds. Currently, the estimated extra expense for being on standby for our 2 detectives would be approximately $6,000 a year per detective. That's with averaging about 6 call-outs for each detective and being on standby for that amount. So it's a very minimal amount for that much that we're gaining with those 29 other detectives coming in.
Okay.
And we only pay.
But if they're, I'm sorry, finish. I'm sorry, I didn't.
And we only pay for our detectives. We don't pay for anything else.
Okay, so, but if they incur overtime because of this, then we pay for that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And as well as apparently there's other equipment, things like that they might be required. We're obligated, we have to pay for that as well.
Councilmember Heck, yes, sir. We currently have that equipment, but any new detectives coming on, we would purchase them. And that is typical. We would buy that equipment for them anyways, just being in that position on the traffic unit. So it's equipment we would already be purchasing for our own detectives.
Okay. I mean, again, I'm all for this because I think these traffic accidents are just ridiculous. And I think probably having skilled detectives to look into this is a great thing. I just feel like we have to make sure that we've got the money, the dollars to spend on this because, I'm always concerned that we seem to be losing revenue sources, and so I'm always want to make sure that we've covered our bases for this. So,
Councilmember Heck, I agree, and we do as well. So when we have a large traffic accident, we actually call out all 5 of our traffic officers on overtime. So this would mean that we would be calling out the task force members that are members of these other agencies, along with either 1 or 2 of our detectives assigned on overtime. So there's a potential it could save us money, and we averaged the cost of being on standby along with the average number of callouts per year per detective, which was about 6 callouts per year, and that was that $6,000 to $6,400 a year was the average cost of that. So not that's going to save us money, but we're trying to be fiscally responsible as well by leveraging the other agencies and being in that group. So.
and that's all I'm asking is just trying to be as fiscally responsible as we can be while we're also getting the support of a very serious task force. So good, thanks.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Just,
Yes.
Great idea. I think leveraging, like you said, will definitely help us in the long run. So, thank you.
Councilmember Cross, yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, Commander Beaton, the purpose for joining this task force is to have people who have the qualifications to do the investigations, correct? Because we don't have enough of our own staff? Is that?
Councilmember Nestor, that is correct. We have 2 detectives that have the qualifications. It's an accident reconstruction. It's a very technical training that you have to have and certificate. It's a national certification. We have 2 detectives only. We had 3. 1 detective was hired away by another agency recently, and so we're down to 2 right now. And just with those 2 detectives, with the number of complex accidents we get, that's not enough to cover our city to guarantee we have coverage.
Okay.
And so we want to guarantee that we can provide that service to our citizens.
So my question then goes on, will we be doing anything to get the qualification, the education for more of our own people instead of having just 2? Is that part of this, the future plans of getting the qualifications for more of our own people, or is it cheaper to us to use other agencies and assuming that they'll stay qualified and be available to do this for us?
Councilmember Nesser, absolutely. Every one of our traffic members, we want them to go through this highly technical training. It's about a 3-week total process to get trained on how to be an accident reconstructionist. And we have 2 senior traffic officers and 2 brand-new traffic officers with an open position. So as they come on, we will get them trained.
So as we get more people trained, eventually we will not need, will you still belong to this task force or what?
Councilmember Nestor, I see us staying on this task force for a long time because, like I said, this guarantees that we have, even with 5 total detectives on traffic, we couldn't put them on call 24/7, 7 days a week, or 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We wouldn't have the bodies. We would burn them out way too quickly. By staying on this task force, it allows us to have that guaranteed response 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without burning out our 5 officers on traffic.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
As you know, I'm a big advocate of task force. It is a massive force multiplier. We pay for our people, they pay for their people. We send people to other cities to help them, and when they're having accidents, they send people to help us. You get a great working relationship. I'm really glad that we're looking to get into this. I think it's really going to help Apache Junction. And it helps you grow as a detective because you're working with other detectives from other agencies. And it makes everybody better.
Councilmember Solar, I agree wholeheartedly.
And I'd like to see us on more task force, as we've talked before. But this is a good start.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion for resolution number 25-39?
Mayor?
Yes.
I move that resolution number 25-39 approving the intergovernmental agreement with Pinal County Multiple Agency Traffic Task Force be approved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call?
Councilmember Nesser?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Cross?
Yes.
Councilmember Heck?
Yes.
Councilmember Solar?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to go now to call the public. I'd like to remind everyone the call to the public is a courtesy and not required by law. It's a time for the public to express the requests, communications, comments, and suggestion. Requests speak the forms must have been completed and handed to the city clerk before the end of the city manager's report. All issues shall be presented in a professional manner without personal attacks. Underneath the open meeting law, the council cannot engage in discussion on issues presented, but may respond to criticism, may direct staff to follow up with the speaker directly, or place the matter on a future agenda for the council discussion. There's a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. And I have 2, Donna Carr.
Sorry, Joel, I didn't know that was a thing. Donna Carr, Apache Junction resident. I just hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, because I know I did. And I'm going to harp on the whole solar thing again, is all these solar companies want to move in. And just to say, my neighbor, I think he has 6 panels on his roof, and he doesn't produce enough electricity for his one house with 6 solar panels. So with them wanting to put in all these solar panels and destroy the area, I'm opposed to that. Thanks, have a good night.
Okay, Dennis Mack.
Mayor, City Council, I'm Dennis Mack, and I'm on the Parade Committee, for the Veterans Day Parade Committee. And I came here to thank you all for your participation, and this was one of the best parades that we've had because of your help. And then I love to thank the Apache Junction Police Department. They were very good looking, they were very professional, and I was impressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, does council have anything, any statements they want to say?
Are we not good looking?
Okay, I will now close city council meeting. Thank you.